efficiency with a fresh approach to IT service management. My name is Barbara Hodge. I'm a global editor at the Shared Services and Outsourcing Network, and I'm very delighted to be your host in today's webinar and demo. The pressure on IT is at a peak. I probably don't need to tell all of you on this call that. Digital transformation, data privacy regulations, continued migration to cloud, and the effects of legacy technologies becoming obsolete, all of this is conspiring to put IT and your jobs perhaps under pressure. What that means is that businesses need powerful capabilities packed into quick to scale and cost-effective solutions. This webinar will give you some of the answers in terms of showing you how. We're going to be sharing global best practices for IT service management, and we will also share a demo showing you exactly how powerful AI and automation can boost response times and improve customer experience. Speaking today, I'm very pleased to introduce Richard George, who is VP of Sales at Flycast Partners and responsible for enterprise growth and partnering with executives. Richard has 10 plus years of experience and is a trusted resource for top-notch IT service, security, and operations management solutions. Joining Richard is Dibin Murali. He's a lead solution engineer at Freshworks and a thought leader in IT service management. Dibin also brings a decade of global IT experience, which is helping empower businesses for optimal efficiency, high velocity growth, and success through cutting-edge solutions. Now, before I hand over to Richard, I'd like to share a few housekeeping tips with you. Specifically, I want to talk through today's dashboard in which you will be able to engage with this webinar. And while I do that, why don't you quickly introduce yourself, tell us where you're based in the chat. You'll see that I've kicked off and I've told you that I'm calling in from Italy right now. So what will you see on your screen? First and foremost, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a resource library in which you will have access to a new report on AI in IT service management. You'll get the slides from today's session, which you will all be asking for at the end, so that's where you'll find them. And you'll also have a link to a website which gives you a lot more information. Also, we want you to ask questions. You're going to hear some interesting facts and commentary from Richard and Dibin. Whenever you hear anything you want to share a comment on, or if you have a question, please put that into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we will make sure that we keep our eyes on that and address your questions. You can also respond to what you hear with emojis. There's a thumbs up, there's a smiley face, there's a thumbs down. So let us know what you think, and it'll help us to understand sort of where the market is and to what extent you are aligning with what we're sharing with you. You will also have access to a speaker bio, and they're linked in, and I would very much encourage you to reach out and connect with both speakers to engage with them in future. So with that, Richard, I will happily hand over to you and let you do the introductions from there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Barbara. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to have a what we hope is a kind of a casual conversation with Dibin and I, talking a little bit about key metrics, from choosing an IT service management solution. The industry has really changed over the last 10 years that I've been part of this. And, even before that, what really started out as IT help desk, the invention of desktops and laptops in today's business, you needed to be able to have a resource to go for the business consumers that did not know how to fix that. And so IT help desk was really thought of as this back office, just fix our laptops, fix our desktops, get us back in operation. With the emergence of technology in every type of business vertical possible out there, it's really morphed into, more enterprise service management. It's gone beyond just, break fix ticketing. And that's where we talk about from a product selection. How has the market changed? What products and vendors are offering certain features? How do you choose? When there are dozens of products out there, do you choose a more simple product that you may grow out of? Or do you go for a very enterprise high-end product that Gartner may say you may never grow into, and put a ton of sunken costs into that, trying to forever build? So, and what we talk about is, from a stat, is majority of customers that buy ITSM solutions grossly overspend on that technology. Typically, they do so because of going with the recommended brand in the market, or look at these these items that they want to achieve without really looking at kind of the basics and breaking it down. And the reality is, IT has become part of the business. And running a business, what do you look at as the key features to make a business successful? And it's a positive customer outcome and relationship, while also ensuring that you're lowering and reducing your costs that allow you to do so. And in IT, our end users are our customers. So ensuring that they're happy and successful, is key, right? Otherwise, they don't leverage the technology, and IT is not part of the business. It's truly just a cost center. So enabling bots and automation and AI, and we're going to talk about that some today. And then Dibin also is going to come on and showcase a demo and show off some features that go to what we're talking about today. But again, improving the experience for your end users and reducing the costs associated with doing so is really the key. And there's this concept of if you can picture a bell curve, and as a product gets more complex, it yields a higher level of adoption and utility. But there is a peak at which a product is too complex, and that starts to diminish. The adoption utility starts to diminish. So, we as Flycast Partners, we've been an IT Service Management implementer for over a decade. We've partnered with some of the top Gartner-ranked ITSM solutions. And in the last 3 years of partnering with Freshworks, we truly feel like we have found that product that sits at the top of that utility and adoption peak, because it has the right amount of ability and configurability, but doesn't go so far over that you're spending months, if not years, implementing. So again, we call it the Goldilocks product internally. Not too complex, not too simple, just right, that yields the highest amount of adoption, for the Fortune 5 million companies out there, not just the Fortune 500. So let's talk a little bit more about that. And when we do so, outside of just the product, ITIL has a huge importance within ITSM. That's really what it's founded on. But at the same time, what we've realized, and what I've realized over a decade of working in this space, is ITIL has become more of a buzzword than a true framework that it was intended to be. So let me build this out a little bit. So when we talk with customers, rarely do we talk to customers that are following ITIL fairly successfully and have it all down pat. Typically, there's always room for improvement, but we find more often is, again, it's a buzzword. It's, do you have the certification? And that's what they care about. Or other customers say they're too intimidated. ITIL is this thing that, hey, I don't want to go that route. I'm intimidated. It's too complex. It's too rigid. It's not going to fit our business. And typically, we like to break that down and talk about, again, at the end of the day, ITIL is a framework and it's a set of best practices. It's not necessarily meant to be followed 100% or compliance of 100%. It's also not a silver bullet. Just because you may take the time to have your team certified does not mean that the rest of it all falls into place easily. Again, there's a lot of effort that it takes to adhere to an ITIL framework and best practices. It's far too easy at times to cut the corners, but again, at the end of the day, what ITIL is meant to do is improve business efficiencies, specifically within the IT realm. So, there's an old iteration of ITIL v2, and I think the most simple way to put it that so many of our customers resonate with is, a fool with a tool is still a fool. And the reality of that is, a new shiny product that has all these bells and whistles that you may or may not ever use does nothing but help you get to that bad process faster. So not only is it looking at a world-class ITSM solution like Freshservice, but also incorporating the benefits of ITIL and best practice into that to ensure that you're meeting your business efficiencies. Last thing I'll say, you might already be following most companies are following some components of ITIL. But what we find out is so many are not even looking at, what's the difference between an incident and a service request? And are you differentiating? And do your end users, do they have access to a catalog, or is everything just a ticket that comes in? And again, that in itself, that framework of best practice, if you separate that, you start to look at how you can become more efficient in that process, cost savings from being able to provide reactive services versus proactive services. So there's a lot of importance at minimum of at least entering into the ITIL understanding and ensuring that there's some components of that are manageable to follow and important in your ITSM journey. So in an ITSM solution, what modern features and functionality should be considered when you're trying to pick a new product? Again, it's not just ticketing, but at the core, it is ticketing. And when you have a dozen products on the Gartner quadrant, and when you have dozens more that are not on the quadrant but available, how do you choose? When a ticket is a ticket, there's a form in a field where you can allow your users to fill out that form. They submit it. There's some workflow on the back end that routes that to the right team. What else is there? How do you really break down what product is right for you? What's different beyond just ticket management? And again, that's where we talked about ITSM is morphed into enterprise service management or digital service management, well beyond just IT. Typically, customers that we work with are leveraging facilities, HR, marketing, others, because everybody has requests. Every department has requests and workflow that can be incorporated. And instead of having disparate solutions, typically an enterprise service management solution will allow you to incorporate those features. But beyond ticketing, how do you create business efficiency and not just have a reactive firefighting help desk team? The way that we do that within Freshservice is through AI and automation and integration capabilities to offer. And again, help desk, now service desk, is not managed in a silo. Typically, you're incorporating elements of IT operations management, your HRIS services, assets, and things of that nature all in. And when you talk about integration capabilities, that is one of the most important aspects because it's not leveraged as a standalone solution at this day and age. So at the same time, the ability, a lot of products boast an open API, and that seems to check the box. The reality is how many of our customers never get around to writing that API, mostly because they don't have the specialty in-house and they don't want to go pay some third party to write an API or then fix that API code down the road. And so a brilliant thing about Freshworks is the third-party marketplace that they have, and there's thousands of applications that are on that and allow for ease of use. Think of a connector. You plug in API credentials, and there's already pre-written functionality that allows you to take advantage of an integration much more quickly than writing a custom API code. So between that, leveraging AI, some of the automation, the chat bots and the collaboration that allow for, again, what you're doing is you're allowing your business to integrate to other applications, reducing that cost, and you're also resulting in positive customer experience. Because from an AI perspective, if you have a cognitive learning bot that's able to predict outcomes, talk to your end users, allow them to self-solve and self-heal, you're going to cut down on call deflection, and again, at the same time, result in positive end user experience. And these are some of the metrics that we're talking about when we look at chat, collaboration, some of the automation for those mundane tasks that come in from a technician perspective. Why not automate that? The old approach was throw more bodies at it. Throw more entry-level bodies at it that can just take the ticket and route it. But why do that instead when you can look at the technology to do that for you? And that's where a lot of the automation and what we call automation in Freshworks and Freshservice is scenario automations. And that's a procedure of various steps taken that can be configured when the system recognizes, typically recognized requests that come in that can be alleviated. And again, when you're running IT as a business, you're trying to cut costs and increase satisfaction. If you can actually increase deflection of tickets in general, you're reducing the amount of overhead maintained on your team, and you can allow them to go be proactive in other operational type roles instead of the reactive type roles. And you're also increasing your customer sat from reducing the amount of time from first of all, contact, resolution, and as a business, it's allowing you to meet your overall SLAs and service level agreements in the attainment set forth. This stat is about a service catalog and the time saved per agent when you give your end users the ability to request services made available to them without just entering a ticket. When entering a ticket, a lot of our customers are doing so via email or through a very rudimentary portal where there's a big text box, I need something, or the email, again, with the big text box, I need something. It's not broken. There's no SLA tied to that. And so there's frustration from the end user perspective. There's additional work put on the technician side. So a properly configured service catalog is allowing you to reduce the amount of time from resolution, as well as ensuring your customers are happy. It gives them that shopping cart-like experience that they're used to in this day and age of going to Amazon and other types of consumer-based products. So you are, when we look at time saved per agent of not having to diagnose, what is this? Do they have the appropriate approvals? Who do I need to route it to? And when all of that is pre-configured, again, you can start to look at the time accumulated and saved over the long period. So lastly, I'll talk about, before we get into to Devon's demo, another aspect of the integrations that we talked about earlier, ITOM, IT Operations Management. It is growing as part of being included into the overall IT realm. And it shouldn't be treated as a separate. Oftentimes, the overlap of teams that are reacting to the IT operations side and the IT service management side are similar and working on the same teams. Why not have that data within your IT service management solution? So being able to incorporate that information in, giving you an overall visibility across the ecosystem and ability to automatically create tickets associated with outages based off of your monitoring tools, again, is allowing for faster time to resolution and allowing your team to be more in the know. At the end of the day, it gives you that single source of truth and visibility, and allows for more proactive monitoring and resolution of those issues. So we're going to talk a little bit about it, show some of the features within Freshservice that we talked about today. I'm looking at the chat just to make sure we don't have any questions before we turn it over to Devon.
Not yet, Richard, but again, to the audience listening in, please do put any questions you may have in the chat and we will get to them. So, Richard, I think we can hand over to the demo.
Okay, excellent. So, Devon, would you do you want to run from here? Or do you want me to build this out?
You can go one click back.
One click back. All right.
Thank you. Quite a amount of stuff were already revealed, but yeah, it's fine. Hi everyone, this is Devon from Freshworks. Now, over the past 15 minutes, you heard Richard talk about a lot of insights and benchmarks set by the industry. And if you notice, he also talked about how it kind of boils down to 3 major categories. But if you would ask me, one of the biggest advancements which kind of happened in the ITSM space is it now able to extend its capabilities to all the departments in the organization, like your HR, facilities, finance, without compromising on security and autonomy. Making it an enterprise service management rather than just being an ITSM catered towards the IT needs of an organization. And that's exactly what we do in Freshservice with workspaces. There you go. So all you need is one purchase of a service desk platform like Freshservice for all your employee needs, which helps you to enhance the return of investment and also improve the visibility through a consumer-grade employee experience. So now that we have one service desk for all, we need to make it easy for everybody because now it's not just your tech-savvy IT teams working on it, but also your finance, your HR, and maybe even facilities jumping into it. And frankly, if you would ask me, with so many advancements in ITSM, gone are those times where you need to hire a legion of developers to get your service desk game going. And that's where Freshservice's no-code automation comes in with tons of orchestrations to kickstart your implementation. And also, like Richard was talking about, connect natively with various third-party applications, which we use in our day-to-day life at work, like Azure AD, PowerShell, Jenkins, Twilio. The list is huge. I can showcase that in the demo. And lastly, let me go to that. You guessed it, it's the AI. And again, like how Richard was talking about it, it's not there because ChatGPT is viral now, but because it's how we have reimagined it in Freshservice for the internal employees, which kind of really makes all the difference. And I don't want to say this lightly because with improving employee engagement and productivity being the top priority for the CIOs of today, the challenge is to find the right tools while optimizing IT costs in these uncertain economic headwinds. And that's where Freddy AI comes in to help you reimagine service operations with right-sized enterprise-grade GPT-based AI assistants. So now that we have discussed our showcase agenda, let's get into the demo to see all of that. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you can see it.
Yep, we can see it.
Are you looking at a blue portal or is it something else?
No, we're seeing it now. Hi, how can we help you?
That's great. And before I kind of jump into the demo itself, one little info before I kind of start this is that this one is pretty much a vanilla instance. And that's the state of Freshservice I wanted to use for this showcase. We want you to see what you get out of the box and see how much of a value it can add to the business right from the start. And now, going back to Richard's presentation, he was also talking about empowering users. And if you would ask me, that's something which we kind of take it to heart because at Freshservice, we make sure that the users of the system are not just empowered to create tickets of their own, like you see in the portal, but also provide them a multi-channel AI-based support so they can get into any supported channel of their choice and get assisted by the AI system before they actually get to an agent or create a ticket on their own. Now, in order to demonstrate that, let's just take this Slack, for example, which is also one of our collaboration channels, which we have integration with able Microsoft Teams. So here, let's say I'm going to type something random. Hey, able to print from my MacBook. Can you help? So now let's see what happens if we do that to the bot, which is present within Slack. All right. So you can see that it kind of immediately realized a couple of things. One, there is no knowledge article in the system to provide the end user as a self-help, which would be a good addition, but there is no knowledge article in the system to provide. Yeah, if it had, it will provide. Secondly, if it, it kind of understands that this is an issue that the user is facing, unlike a service request, and provides with asking for more information so it can help the user resolve that. So let's say when I provide more information to it, I'm going to type something random. like an everyday end user. It's not printing anything. If I click print, obvious, right? I'm going to click enter. And now let's see what happens. It's busy a bit. Okay, it's fine. All right. So now what kind of did is that it automatically generated a list of troubleshooting steps and kept the conversation kind of going. So if I'm saying that, I'm not going to be happy, it will still continue to help me, or it will help me to create a ticket right from Slack. And what you just saw on the screen is Freddy AI or AI solution creating a multi-turn conversation with the user on the fly, purely based on the conversational context, which, think of this in a typical day. This is ideally something a physical agent would do to provide a quicker resolution to the end user. And now it's being done by the AI, which doesn't need any guidance to it. And that's the value it provides, which results in effective cost savings and ticket deflections for the support team. And now, talking about the support team, like I mentioned earlier, with the help of workspaces, you can bring in any department within your organization and unify your employee support experience. So let's say as an end user, I come in, click on request to service, and take a look at the wide list of out-of-the-box service catalog items from various departments. And let's say I choose the one that I need and let the system take care of the automation from here, because that's how the system is designed. So, for example, if I choose a service catalog item like Logitech wireless mouse, one click for place request, one click for confirm. That's it, 2 clicks, and it is now a service request. And if I go ahead and refresh, we can see in the screen that it is going through an approval process. And after this, it can get assigned to the right team or department, or even trigger an automation with the third-party system. And all of this, right from the service catalog creation till the workflow automation, can be pretty much configured in a drag and drop fashion. No code involved at all. And like I said earlier, Freshservice is truly a no-code, low-code system, which can cater from an SMB business and scale up to an enterprise level at no time. And maybe to show this better of how this all works in the backend, I can switch to the agent portal. All right, so this is the agent portal. And like I said earlier, this is our drag and drop workflow automator. So all you need to do, select the component you want, drag and drop. It's going to ask me to confirm. Yeah, I confirm. That's it. There you go. That's really how easy it is to add an action block and do the use case as it is intended to. You can define your conditions as simple as this. Even if you look at this workflow automator use case, it says that service request is raised, and it looks if it's a mouse or if it's an extra monitor request, and then it kind of sends the report to the manager for approval. And then if it is approved, it's going to be assigned to the IT service fulfillment team. If not, it's simply going to notify the requester and set the status as closed for the ticket. Now, that was simple, right? But you can do a lot with the workflow automator, like taking actions in a third-party application right from Freshservice. And in order to do that, you can drag and drop the app node over here and choose a third-party application you want to connect to. Now, there are tons of apps here to choose from, but to kind of make it simple, I can choose Azure AD, which I've already installed within the system, and show you all of the out-of-the-box actions which you can choose as per your use case and create a workflow. Now, ideally, this is something which you need to, in case if you want to connect it from a system, you might need to put in the APIs. You might need to make a couple of requests to make sure that you do certain actions. Like one of those common ones can be reset user password. But now with the inbuilt action, you can just do that by just drag and drop. That's really how simple it is. And forget about that. Let's see something in action. I'll show you a classic out-of-the-box workflow, which we have with Azure AD, where you can streamline your employee onboarding process for your HR, right from a service request till the actual user onboarding in Azure AD. And frankly, this is typically something which the agent would do by himself by logging into Azure, creating a user. But with Freshservice in place, you can let the system take care of these manual tasks so the agent can focus on other complex tickets. And that's really the core value which we bring in through this no-code workflow automated solution. And speaking of complex tickets and also about agent productivity, you have seen how Freddy AI plays its role in the end user side of things. But it's even more interesting to see how it kind of helps the agent with this day-to-day tasks. And to showcase that, I'm going to open an existing ticket. Yeah. So this is now being worked on by an agent who is Sheldon. And let's see how much of a time we can save with the help of AI and increase agent productivity. So that's where I'm going to use Freddy AI for a couple of things. One is to help me understand this long ticket without me reading through it or ask the physical agent, Sheldon here, for the handover. So what I'm going to do as a new agent is simply head to the top, click on Add Summary, and let Freddy summarize everything which happened in this ticket so far. Now, we can see that the end user is unable to connect her Samsung Galaxy Buds to her MacBook. And then the agent has suggested a couple of steps, change your batteries, look for the range. And those suggested steps didn't really work for the end user. And she is still there asking for further assistance. And, although it's impossible to get that handover, that kind of a handover from a physical agent in a couple of seconds you just saw, what Freddy really did was that it enabled the agent to quickly generate a summary of how a ticket was handled so far by capturing the consolidated text from all the ticket responses below. And that's the kind of enablement for the agent is really the value which we provide. And now, is it all? Is that everything? No, Freddy doesn't really stop here. Now, now that Freddy has helped me understand what this ticket is all about, I'm going to see if I can provide a better response than Sheldon. So that's where I'm going to take some help from Freddy again, and I'm going to see if I can add a new knowledge article to this reply. I'm going to click on reply, solution articles, and we already know that there is not a good article which we can send it to Penny. So we're going to click on new article to create one. So in order to save time of typing, I'm going to copy paste the ticket summary, which Penny has used, and click on go. And this is where Freddy does something amazing, which typically takes quite some time for an agent to look for public resources online and try to find the relevant troubleshooting steps, capture the information, and then get to Freshservice to write up. Though we know that it's going to take a lot of time for the agent, which ultimately doubles or even triples the ticket resolution time. I highly doubt if it is going to be this relevant and articulated in a perfect format, which makes the agent to do only one thing, proof check if this is exactly what the end user wants, maybe select a couple of, mandatory options which the system is requesting, and click on save and publish, which ultimately helps the support team to deprioritize help article creation over other high value work. And that's the value which Freddy kind of brings in. And if you would ask me, again, is it all? No. When it comes to Freddy AI, it doesn't really limit itself to the ticketing and knowledge space, but it also plays a huge role when it comes to data analytics and proactive alerts from third-party monitoring tools. And with Freshservice in place, it's really easy to get started on your IT operations management strategy. All you need to do is connect to EA monitoring tool that you have today within your organization from the wide list of options which we support. And then let Freddy handle the alert grouping to study the incoming alerts from disparate resources and attach them to a related open incident like this, or maybe even create a new one. And all of this kind of happens automatically with Freddy's intelligence and machine learning in the backend. And if you would ask me, when suitably trained based on your infrastructure, Freddy can actually reduce noise up to 50% and make incidents contextually richer, and making it easier for the NOC and DevOps teams to make fast and effective decisions. All right, so that's everything I kind of planned to showcase in this webinar, but whatever you saw today was just me scratching the surface of Freshservice. And if you want to know more, please do get in touch with us to give us the privilege in transforming your internal helpdesk to the next level. Thank you.
So Dibin, really quick, while we still have this pulled up, I think you've been talking about some of the AI and ChatGPT capabilities and as well as the automation, how that can extend to agents. But the first example that you pulled up of the Slack bot, I think that's something I want to call out is when we're talking with our customers, one of the biggest, obstacles in getting the right projected return is adoption. You can have the best product, but if your users are not leveraging the portal in the intake methods that you've provided to them, then nothing's changing. You're not deflecting call, you're still taking calls, and you're still firefighting from a help desk perspective. Customers a lot will use email, and email, with any ticket tool is only so much. There's a subject line and a text box, which still leads to back and forth investigation and multiple touch points, which is not going to get you to fast SLAs or ensuring SLAs, fast response, things of that nature. And a lot of customers, it's difficult to have their users go to a portal. They had a bad experience, or they just don't want to, and they're just stuck in their ways of sending email. That's one of the biggest things that we hear from customers are, I don't know if I can change the culture. Everybody wants to send emails. But with the emergence of instant chat, especially with Microsoft Teams over the last several years, and Slack being the primary two that most customers and organizations we talk to leverage, by putting the ability to access and have availability to the service desk within that console that almost every user has up on their desktop all day, every day, is significant in the form of adoption. So not only are you providing some automation there and the AI ability of being able to interact with that user, give them fast responses and reduce your agents, but you're also making your users very happy by not having to go to a website, by being able to go right to a console they're already in and start interacting with the service bot. And again, it typically yields to a significantly higher adoption rate, which if you don't have adoption, the rest of it is not nearly as important or effective.
Right. Yeah.
Richard, in the meantime, we've had a number of questions come in, but one I thought was particularly good following up from Dibin's demo. Where does the relevant content for the articles generated by Freddy come from? Is it from the internet or from GPT's context? Asks Sharat. Dibin, would you like to address that?
Sure, I can address that. It's definitely coming from the public resource. And even if you see how ChatGPT or the GPT engine works, it's also collating the information from public resources. So if you are asking for something like, give me some tips to connect my Samsung Galaxy Buds to MacBook, what it does is that it goes through all of those articles which kind of comes in the search. So let's say it's going inside Samsung support page, and it's going to read all of this information there, try to collate all that information using GPT, and then it kind of pushes it back in a format that we can directly just click on save and then do it. So, but if you'd ask me, that's the AI doing its part, but it's always the agent's job to do a proofreading to make sure that it's 100% relevant. And one other thing you might have not seen in the demo is that if you click on refresh, it can also generate an alternative article to you, which you can again use it. So it's not like one hit and you're done with that. So if that helps. Thank you.
Perfect.
So one other thing I want to point out, Dibin, your second example of the workflow builder, that is having the no-code workflow builder, I think is very powerful, especially as configurable as Freshservice is, and the ability to pull in those different apps, strictly from your menu bar on the left to be able to build this out with no code. I talked with a customer the other day that's been live on Freshservice for 6 months to a year at this point. And we were talking about it. He said, we just don't know how refreshing it is. And he gave me an example. He said, somebody pointed out to me the other day that we had a service item in the catalog that wasn't properly configured. There were a couple issues with the fields and the workflow behind the scenes. And the person that came to him when he said that, he said, I think they expected, like typical, it would be put on a list of enhancements that would be addressed in a batch, and you do it in a dev and test, and then you publish, and it might happen days, if not weeks from now. And he said, no, sit down, let's do it right now. And live in production, they went in and they pulled up the form, they edited the fields as appropriate, and then they had their other teammate come in and adjust the workflow. But within 1 hour live time, they fixed the service item. And he talked to me, he said, that just would not have been possible in our previous ITSM solution, again, of working in a dev and test environment. So it just talks about, again, from when we talk about fast time to value, it's not just the upfront immediate implementation. It's the ongoing continual service improvement across the enterprise that allows you to make these changes on the fly and not have these long development cycles of continuing to update and enhance the offerings that you have within Freshservice.
And Richard, if you'd ask me, this is not the first time I'm hearing this from any partner or customer. The very first feedback which I hear from a customer is always about how straightforward the UI is and how easy it is to do an ongoing change. So, I used to show this as an example to some of my customers, is that how easy is it to kind of bring in a new field to a form and maybe extend your company's capability from 1 to 1,000 in just a couple of seconds. So that's really kind of how easy it is to kind of configure things within Freshservice, and like Richard said, in an ongoing fashion. That's the most important point to kind of take note here.
So one other question I saw was related to ITIL is how do we start our journey becoming more ITIL aligned? We'd like to, but don't really know where to start. From an overall perspective, again, Freshservice has been created and built based on out-of-the-box ITIL-based workflow. So the short answer is, if you're implementing Freshservice out of the box, you're not making many changes, you're already following ITIL. But from an overall understanding of the process and the true reason that it was created, it's not also this daunting task of going through these long-term, certifications and classes. We at Flycast offer and work with one of the co-authors of ITIL 4. We offer all ranges of ITIL classes, from 1-day awareness classes. Oftentimes, when we talk to IT leaders that say, I don't even know how to get everybody on board, we start there. We start with an awareness class that's typically 4 to 8 hours, depending on how long you think you can pull your team into a room. But it starts with just understanding, why is ITIL important, the collaboration, the process efficiency, things of that nature. So, 2 answers. One being that Freshservice is based on out-of-the-box ITIL compliant workflow. Second is, you don't have to jump straight to a full-on rigid ITIL framework. There are a lot of options in between that, once you see it, once you have your teams leveraging ITIL and understanding it, we have a lot of customers that we do repeat ITIL trainings and simulations for, because they say, hey, that was a huge hit. My team understands now the importance. It's not just some certification we can throw up or a tagline we can put on our email signature. There's a reason why that is a set of best practices in the industry. And at the end of the day, it leads to overall business efficiency.
And Richard, I will jump in there. I just want to reinforce that point you made about awareness and training and learning, which is really key. And we see that really across all service management and process management applications within industry these days. So thank you very much for that. And I want to just give a big thanks to Richard and Dibin, to our speakers today. Dibin, thanks for the demo. I think seeing something live, seeing Freddie in play is really so much more impactful than reading about something. So we very much appreciate that. We did have some questions about the slides. Again, for those of you who joined a few minutes late, if you look at the resource library at the bottom of your screen, you can get a copy of the slides. You can get a copy of a recent report on AI for IT service management. And there's also a link to a website which gives you more information. So thank you. I'm loving the emojis. Thanks to all of you who've logged in today. If you have any questions, please do reach out to Richard and Dibin on LinkedIn. Under the presenters box, you can get a link straight through to their LinkedIn. And any questions that we were not able to address today, and I'm sorry, we do want to stick to our timetable, you're all busy in your days, we will make sure that we share with Richard and Dibin, and you will be hearing back from them. So with that, thanks so much to everyone for taking the time, a really important topic, and education is key. Thank you so much. This ends today's session.
Thank you.
Thank you all.